So I'm Jake Yancey, owner-operator at Track and Wire Ranch with my wife and kids. We're out of Olympia, Washington, which is South Puget Sound, over on the west coast and stuff. We run a cow-calf to finish operation, so we own cattle all the way from the time that they're born, all the way till the time that we end up marketing them direct to consumer. We run about 150 head on about 1,000 acres in 4 different county areas, with the rainfall range anywhere between about 70 and 100 inches of rain a year. So about 3 years ago, we ended up purchasing a rawhide Super Large Processor. It was great. We drove on over to Abilene, Kansas, and picked it all the way up and driving from Washington State, and were able to bring it back. It was a great process going through the purchasing, determining what we ended up needing for our different sites, as we kind of tried to make sure that we were always planning for the future as far as growth and what that kind of looked like, and looking at different options and everything else, and what was going to work best for our operation. So we run 100% leased operations, so none of our properties we own. And so when we start looking at opportunities as far as, do we end up building corral systems at every one of those? And ultimately our workaround for that for years was packing around panels at each of our sites. Frankly, that was probably going to get me in a divorce at some point. And so we started making some really smart decisions as far as looking at different portable corrals. We looked all over at different options and what was out there and everything else. Our main factors that we were wanting was something that was super durable, that was going to hold up in our tough, rainy, wet, and rusty environment that we ended up being in. We have a lot of hills that are up and down and rough ground. We're not flat like Kansas. And so we were super excited when we ended up finding a product that was built in flat grounds that would work just as well up in our mountains. One of the big things that we ended up liking with it is most of our properties have a lot of texture to them. And the fact that the rawhide system is able to work on ground that's not always perfectly flat with the flexible hinge system and design was really a game changer, that we didn't have to prepare sites at each area to install a corral system was big. The things like support legs to keep them off of rolling into our fences, sometimes even our trucks that we're parked nearby, has been great. The flexibility of the different panels and how the arrangements can work on our sites have been great, because every place is a little bit different. Some might be a small site that might be only 20 acres, while some of them may be a couple hundred that we're end up being at and having that. Ultimately, as we're leasees on properties, we really pride ourselves on leaving those sites with little to no trace. And the fact that we can come in on a quick weekend, we can set up a corral, we can gather and treat and doctor and do all that. And at the end of the weekend, we can fold everything up and drive away. And when we look back, there's nothing there at the site. It's just amazing. That's really, really been a game changer for us. Yeah, so the rawhide system's been great for us for the flexibility that it's allowed us. We'll end up bringing cattle in. Our big thing is we like the design of the system that we're able to open both sides up and really create as large of an area, because as a cattle producer, the larger of an area that you can bring cattle in, the less stressed they are and stuff, making that kind of capture moment as you close up the panels. That's really saved us. When it goes to working them down the alley for us, we'll often end up bringing them in, and that's been another big cost savings. As our old doctoring plan was either that we'd have to treat in the field and stuff by horseback or such, if that was an opportunity, and or we would have to set up a corral and bring them back. The nice thing that we like about this system is often sometimes when we're doing sorts, we may not reconfigure the corral so that we have a return alley type system. And we'll provide ourselves 2 different options. 1, we release them straight out into the open field, or 2, we'll even open up a side gate to get them out. The nice thing with it, we can install a stop right behind them, simply open up the side door, slide it in, and let the cattle back themselves out, which works really, really nice. Sometimes we end up doing that because we made a bad sort as we brought animals through and we just need to rotate them back in. Sometimes it may be because we don't want them released at that time and we may be trucking them to a different location. There's a multitude of reasons why chute design and alley designs are super important, as you kind of look at coming up with every opportunity that you can, because as a producer, you never really know exactly what you're going to want on that day.